Hello everybody and a very warm welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster here with your racing selections midweek and some interesting racing through Thursday and Friday ahead of what promises to be a magnificent King George VI and Queen Elizabeth weekend with Ascot very much the focus, but also great supporting cards both on Saturday and Sunday, and we'll have a bulletin on Friday looking ahead specifically to the racing at the weekend. We have two selections for you for Thursday and Friday, but before I go any further I just want to go back to last weekend, and first of all an apology because I had a senior moment and I got my Eds mixed up. I highlighted Ed Walker's runner Caradoc in the John Smith's Cup at York and mentioned that he was going to retire from training, but of course it was Ed Vaughan that is retiring from training. I really hope he changes his mind, Ed Vaughan, because he's a very good trainer indeed. He had a good winner this week, but he has decided to hand in his licence apparently at the end of the year. So Ed Vaughan, apologies to Ed, and also to Ed Walker, who is definitely staying in the business and is doing really well at the moment. Now, the weekend was incredibly frustrating. We're a bit like one of those footballers who keeps hitting the crossbar and coming off the wrong side of a result even when you play very well. We've had a series of very narrow defeats at big odds, and the latest one was on Saturday at the Curragh, and the horse in question was David O'Mara's Gulliver, who we recommended at 10 to 1 each way in the big sprint, the Scurry handicap. Now he ran an absolute corker and he kicked 2 lengths clear of the field going inside the final furlong. I was counting the money. He was home and hose until, getting £15, Romantic Proposal came with a flying finish, and Ed Lynham's filly got up there in the very last stride. Here's an image of the photo finish, and you can see just how close it is with the red cap of Gulliver on the far side. He had been home for all money, and for those of you that play in running, I suspect anybody that bet Gulliver could have really burnt their fingers, because he was absolutely all over the winner before being nabbed in the last stride. But he was 10 to 1 when we recommended him, so if you're on each way you will have shown a profit. Now we're going to go ahead to the two selections, Thursday and Friday. I have to say, overall, not great racing. All the big stuff is being held back for the weekend, which we'll come to in Friday's bulletin. But there are two interesting contenders, and the first of them goes at Sandown on Thursday in the 4:55, a 7 furlong 2-year-old maiden. Now there's some very well-bred horses here from big stables, but one of them is a notebook horse for me, and its name is Third Kingdom, trained by champion trainer John Gosden and the mount of the very capable David Egan. Now Third Kingdom is a very well-bred colt, and is by Make Believe, who of course is the sire of Mishrif, who won the French Derby just a few weeks ago. And this horse's dam was a Grade 1 winner in the United States, so definitely a horse that is bred to be useful, to say the very least. And he put up an eye-catching first effort over 6 furlongs at Newcastle last month, where he was staying on late in the day. He finished 3rd of 8 there in a race that has already worked out well, with the 2nd winning at Doncaster and the 6th winning at Musselburgh. So the form has been franked. This is a horse who looked as if he was already crying out for 7 furlongs, and I think the steep uphill finish at Sandown, and it is really steep uphill at the Esher track, is going to suit this horse. I think he's going to go very, very well indeed. Now one interesting stat here is that when David Egan rides for John Gosden, and it's not very often, he has a 42% winning strike rate. So really worth noting that the jockey and trainer combination red hot, and Gosden horses continuing in good form with a 1 in 4 strike rate over the last few weeks. So that's Third Kingdom, who I expect will be around the 11 to 4 mark, something like that. So 11 to 4, Third Kingdom in the 4:55 race at Sandown on Thursday. And then on to Friday, and if you're patient, it might pay dividends, because in the very last race of the night at Ripon, one of the most lovely racecourses in Britain, not for no reason is it called the Garden Racecourse. It's an absolute delightful location in North Yorkshire. And there's a 1.25 mile handicap there to finish the card. It's a very open affair, and you can give a chance to just about all of them. But one that's been catching my eye for a little while now is a horse trained by Les Eyre. Les is a very shrewd cookie. He won the Ebor handicap way back when, and Lewis Edmonds is going to ride this horse. He's very familiar with the horse called Côte d'Azur. Now, Côte d'Azur actually won over the course and distance a few years ago, but he was disqualified afterwards because a few weeks later in a routine test there was a prohibited substance found in his sample, so he was disqualified. So he deserves to get a win on the board at this course. He actually ran very well 2 starts ago when narrowly beaten off this mark at Beverley, and then he was not disgraced at all when 4th at York last time on good to soft ground. Now, the key to Côte d'Azur is a decent surface, and they're expecting good to firm ground at Ripon on Friday evening. I think that's going to suit him. And against a number of unexposed horses, he's going to have to be at the top of his game, but we know he likes the track, we know he's in form, and he's back to the right kind of a handicap mark. He was running off the mid-90s just a year ago, 18 months ago. There has been no prices forecast at the time of this recording, so I'm suggesting that Côte d'Azur is going to be around 6 to 1. That's my assessment of the market, and you could easily back him each way. So that's Côte d'Azur each way 6 to 1 or thereabouts. In the last race of the night on Friday, the 8.25 at Ripon, and the day before at Sandown, the 4.55. It's Third Kingdom. We think around the 11:04 mark in that 2-year-old maiden at Sandown Park at 4.55 on Thursday. 2 for you for this midweek session. We're back on Friday with a look ahead to the weekend action. But for now, this is Paul Alster signing off from Sportsbet TV. Enjoy your racing.